The approach to making a sound might be different depending on the level of and age of the students that you're working with, but the same basic principles are going to apply. The first thing from you as an instructor perspective, I think, that keep in mind is don't overthink anything. All right? This part of our facial structure is very unique to each of us and is going to be very unique from student to student. So an approach that works very successfully with one student might work less successfully with another, and vice versa. So the patience is really key, and again, not to be too judgmental. Of course, key to everything is going to be your ability to demonstrate and model all of this. So I'll start with approaching that, and most all of this again carries over to the students. A fundamental thing to keep in mind on all this, as much as we think it's about what our lips do, which we'll refer to as the embouchure, the technical term for the mouth formation when we play, it's really about air usage more than anything. So I think this whole process needs to start with a discussion of breathing with any age student. And of course, you can make it language appropriate and so forth, and activity appropriate in doing this. The first thing to keep in mind is that we as human beings all in our normal breathing are very close to the type of breathing we need to do in playing a musical instrument. We breathe deep normally. We breathe where our diaphragm drops, and that our lungs expand downward as well as outward and so forth. And that when we take a very deep breath, there's a tightening around the belt line, for lack of a better description of that area. Depending on students and your comfort level and facilities and so forth, a really great exercise sometimes is even just have students lie on their back and then just breathe. It's almost impossible to breathe incorrectly lying on your back, and they will feel an expansion of their midsection and a rise of the lower part of their abdomen and such, and that's the type of feeling they have. Of course, posture is also tied into breathing. When you're lying flat on the ground, it's sort of taken care of. A good suggestion for introducing breathing concepts is to do most of these activities, if not lying down, which could be prohibitive because of spaces, is to have them stand. Posture generally is much better in everybody, especially of the upper torso when we're in a standing position. Key is, again, them not overthinking it. You don't want to see, obviously, rises of shoulders or any kind of really huge overt actions of any kind. It's just normal deep breathing, with that expansion in the lower extremities. A helpful tool in working on breathing are straws. I have right here with me 3 different size straws, and there's some application for each of these sizes if you have the availability of these. The first is a very tiny coffee stirrer. The second is a larger coffee stirrer. And finally, what would be probably a normal soda straw. And these come in even bigger sizes than this. The nice thing about using a straw is it almost inherently causes correct breathing and correct exhalation of air. So for instance, if I breathe through this straw, if I inhale air through this straw, almost immediately all the air focuses to the lower part of my lungs and lower extremities around the belt line and so forth. You'll also notice as I inhale through this straw, the formation of my mouth is very natural, but yet it's very similar to what we're going to want the formation to appear like as we approach the mouthpiece itself. Now, the same idea on expelling the air can be very helpful through the straw, because it focuses the air to the center of the straw and gives a feeling of direction and a need to propel the air through the length of the straw, which is somewhat similar to propelling the air through the length of an instrument, in this case the pBuzz. The air we need to use to make a sound on a brass instrument has to be somewhat energized air. One way to get students in touch with that, and yourself in touch with that, is the concept of hot air versus cold air. If I take the palm of my hand and hold it, say 6 inches from my face, and blow hot air on it, I end up with an air column that is very spread, and the air speed is much slower than normal exhaling. Now, if I take that same exercise and ask myself to, or ask the students or yourself to blow a stream of air pinpointed at the middle of my palm and make it very cold, then we get very energized air and we get more focused air. Particularly, it forces us to have our embouchure formation. Could repeat this exercise too with a straw. making it very, very cold air. You don't have to talk about fast air. Don't talk about blowing hard, anything like that that's going to cause students overreacting to anything. Just make the air cold. If they can think of that the entire time, and that'll provide the necessary energy within the air column.